think everybody should apply for this. This is the DAAD scholarships, but there are two types. You have the EPOS and the Helmut Schmidt scholarship. And this video, we are going to be exploring what is the difference between these two, how should you think about all of them, and how should you apply, and also which one should you apply amongst the two. Okay, unboxing the DAAD package. So this is actually, of course, the DAAD is a German academic, he's like the flagship scholarship, and they have, like, it's mostly fully funded. Living stipend is covered, travel allowance is covered, full health insurance is covered, language prep is covered, and bonus subsidies is covered. Tell me how that is not a good deal. Any scholarship that is a fully funded scholarship is a good deal, and everybody should be rushing to apply for all of them. But at the same time, because this DAAD is divided into the EPOS and the Helmut Schmidt, which one makes sense for you? And by the end of this video, you are going to have an answer to that question. So let us look at the universal ground rules. Number one, origin. You must be from an eligible developing country. Most of you all that watch this channel, all of you are from developing countries. Most of you, not, I've had a ton of clients from the US and other places, but most of you are from developing countries. Academic excellence, you need to be doing very well, because if you're not going to get a scholarship. And then the degree age, your last academic degree cannot be more than 6 years ago. This is good because they're not putting like an age range. If you think about a Japanese government scholarship, 25 and 35, that is the age limit, right? But here they're not telling you that you should be a particular age. They're just telling you that you should have finished your studies in the last 6 years, okay? And the residency limit, you cannot have lived in Germany for more than 15 consecutive months at the time of the application deadline. And the reason why this makes perfect sense is because the idea is to give an opportunity for people who are living in different countries to go and study in Germany, to go and experience German culture, to go and see what it's like living in this place. Not for those that are already there. If you're already there, find your way, do something else. That is on you. This is for people who want to move there, okay? Now let's look at the traps that you are going to face if you're going to be applying for this scholarship, or in figuring out which of these scholarships should I apply for. Number one, misunderstanding the process, okay? DAAD provides funding, but the universities provide admission. So the first mistake that you're going to make is applying blindly through the DAAD portal and hoping to be placed in a university. That is not how it works. The right way is that you, as an applicant, you apply directly to your chosen master's course at their respective universities, and then submitting the DAAD application as part of your application packet. Then the university selects you and nominates you for the DAAD scholarship. This is just like the next Japanese government university route. That is how it is. So the student goes to university master's degree, you apply for the master's degree, the university nominates you, and then it goes into DAAD. So it is very important to understand the process when it comes to these DAAD scholarships, and make sure that you understand this, because if you don't, and then you're trying to look for okay, I'm going to apply to the main DAAD portal because that is how I'm going to be selected for the scholarship, you are not going to be selected. And you may be asking yourself, oh my goodness, why was I not selected? It is because you went through the wrong path. You did what you're not supposed to do. So pay attention to that first mistake and make sure you don't make it. Now let's look at the comparison here. So we have these two main scholarships. You have the EPOS and then you have the Helmut Schmidt. So what are we looking at here? The focuses are different. EPOS, they are focused broadly on sustainable development, STEM, agriculture, economics, health. Helmut Schmidt, they are looking at public policy, law, and good governance. So y'all let me know in the comment section, what is your major? What is your major? What is your major? Because in knowing your major, we can already start seeing where you will fall. Should you apply for EPOS or should you apply for Helmut Schmidt? What is your major? Y'all let me know in the comment section. Professional experience for EPOS, you need 2+ years required at the time of your application. And then for Helmut Schmidt, it welcomes both young graduates and mid-career professionals, which means that it is more leeway, like they have a broader ban of those that can apply for it. Application limits. For the EPOS, they need you can apply for maximum 3 master's courses. For the Helmut Schmidt, maximum 2 master's courses you can apply for. Instruction language. So for EPOS, it is a mix of English and German taught courses, right? And then for the Helmut Schmidt program, it is all 100% English taught courses. So y'all let me know in the comment section, are you thinking about applying for the DAAD scholarship based off of this information that I have just shared right now? Do you think you are which one do you think you're a good fit for? Do you think you are a good fit for the EPOS, or do you think you are a good fit for the Helmut Schmidt? Which one do you think? Let us have a chat in the comment section. Let me know. In fact, pause the video at that place where we are looking at the differences. Look at it again and then see where do you fall. Okay, now let's look at a spotlight on the EPOS. Now you can start confirming if you're doing the right thing or not. Okay, so you have the spotlight here. EPOS candidate number 1, this is development related postgraduate courses. They are designed for specialists already in the trenches looking to scale their impact. You have to be someone who is working on something, interested in solving some problem within your community for you to be given the scholarship. Experience, 2 or more years of relevant work experience. Post-bachelor work experience. Your foundation is in STEM, economics, agriculture, forestry, health, or urban planning. Okay? What's your major, you guys? What's your major? What have you been doing? The first question I'll ask you, do you all have work experience? And if you do, how many years work experience? Let us chat in the comment section. How many years work experience do you have? All right. Number 2, do you fall in any of these fields? STEM, economics, agriculture, forestry, health, urban planning? Do you? Let me know. And then your current role, you work for a public authority, state or private company engaged in development policies. This can actually be, because it is state or private, everything is either state or private, right? So you can be working, it doesn't matter where you're working, you can apply for the scholarship as long as you can justify that it is something development related. And I've told you all already on this channel before, everything is development related. You just have to angle it and position it nicely to sound development related. Okay, your goal, you want to solve technological, economic, and social challenges back home. So if you're going to be applying for the scholarship, what is your goal? Y'all let me know in the comment section. If you want to go and study in Germany under this scholarship, what is going to be your goal? What do you want to do with it? The good thing about answering these questions in the comment section is that it helps you think. By the time you get to your application folder or the things that you have to write, because you've already answered them on YouTube, you're practically just chucking your brain on, oh, okay, now I can write this, now I can, like, that is why you should be giving me answers in the comment section. Okay, all right, let's look at the spotlight for the Helmut Schmidt Scholar. Okay, so this is the public policy and good governance program designed for those aiming to shape social justice, democracy, and economic systems. Do you fall in any of those? Social justice, democracy, economic systems? Do you fall in any of those? Do you? All right. Experience, you're a recent graduate. Recent. What is the meaning of recent? Or a mid-career professional. Okay, so it's just pretty flexible. Recent or mid-career professional means you've been working for a few years or you just got out of school. Like any of them can go, right? Background, your foundation is in law, political science, social sciences, economics, and public administration. What is your major? Y'all let me know in the comment section. You already can tell where you fall based off of this, right? Current role, you are active in civil society, NGOs, or government. This one is a bit restricted because they're not including private companies here. So this is a bit restricted. Civil society, well, what is civil society? Civil society is private businesses, right? I think so. NGOs or governments, I think so. Goal, you want to promote democratic principles and establish socially equitable systems in the global south. Okay, so if you're going to be applying for this, what is your goal? That is something that you have to think about, and you need to align your goals with their goals, because if they see that you all are trying to solve the same problem, oh, let us partner. You are a good person for us to give money to, right? Okay, let's look at the decision framework here. Which path is yours? The reason why I'm making this video is for you to know that number 1, this scholarship exists, and number 2, which path should you choose? Should you choose the EPOS or should you choose the Helmut Schmidt? Okay, so the decision framework here, which path is yours? Step 1, do you have at least 2 years of professional work experience? If no, go to the Helmut Schmidt. If yes, okay, EPOS, we go. Is your primary focus in public policy, law, civil society, or governance? If yes, you go to Helmut Schmidt. If no, you continue reading. Step 3, is your field in STEM, agriculture, health, or applied economics for development? If yes, EPOS. So this should practically tell you, where should you go? Should you apply for the EPOS or should you apply for the Helmut Schmidt? All of this should give you the details. It should tell you exactly how you should go. So pause this, look at it, and then y'all let me know in the comment section. Where do you think you're a good fit? Are you a good fit for the EPOS program, or are you a better fit for the Helmut Schmidt program? Y'all let me know in the comment section, okay? Now let us look at the family question. Timing is everything. DAAD provides monthly family allowance and rent subsidies, but you cannot bring your spouse and children immediately. Okay. Phase 1, you have the preparatory language course, which is up to 6 months. Here you are by yourself. No family allowances are provided during this initial stage. And then you have the phase 2. This is like master's program begins. This is September, October. Family is unlocked. Once official university studies begin, family members can join. The DOAD provides financial supplements, is activated, but although it is subject to embassy visa approvals. Oh my God. Listen, say whatever you want to say about Germany, okay? But if you look at the fact that, and I've seen so many scholarships in Germany that are not just supporting yourself as a scholar, it is supporting your family also. I have been in the scholarship space for a very long time, and I've not seen a ton of scholarships that sort of support your family also. That's what I'm saying. Like, say whatever it is you want to say about Germany, but their scholarships are family friendly. I swear, their scholarships are family friendly. This is amazing. You're getting a scholarship and they're also supporting your family. That is a great deal, okay? The reality of limited slots, this is where things get tricky, let's see. So you aren't just competing globally, you're fighting for microscopic allocations within specific university department. DAAD does not fund entire cohort. So let's look here. So you see this huge funnel. This is where everyone goes through. Then there's a filtering, right? And a university admissions, and then the last people. So you have about what? Thousands of people. It filters to a limited number, and then it filters to a very limited number. The bottleneck is that universities receive thousands of applicants, but are granted a strictly limited quota for DAAD scholarships per year. So the math is some specialized program, for example, TU Berlin Urban Management, have a hard cap and just 3 DAAD scholars per year. Wow. Other courses admit a maximum of 10. You must be the absolute best in your specific niche. Regardless, one university, okay, let's look at it. Let's do the math, for example, right? Let's say you're looking at let's look at MEX and then let's look at DAAD. Here, a specific university is able to go up to 3 candidates and even able to go up to 10 candidates, right? With the MEX scholarship, which launches throughout the world, countries around the world, just imagine everybody in one country applying for that specific scholarship. In my year, 2 people were chosen. 2 from the whole country. So all of masters, I was the only one chosen. All of PhD, one guy was chosen. So, and then now here you have a situation where one university is granted 3 slots. Some universities are granted 10 slots. I think in terms of the opportunity pool and the options that people get, I think this is not a shabby offer at all, especially compared to a scholarship like the MEX scholarship. And the MEX scholarship is super famous. DAAD is also famous, but I'm talking about when you look at the numbers, you see that DAAD is making sense, right? All right, let's look at strategies that you should follow. Strategy 1, the unified letter rule. So because you're applying to multiple university courses simultaneously, your application narrative must be perfectly synchronized. One document. You must write one single motivation letter that you submit to all your chosen courses. Oh, okay. Prioritization. You must rank your chosen courses within the exact same letter and explicitly explain why you rank them in that order. Oh, wow. That is scary. The fatal error: do not tailor different letters for different universities and never change your priority order across applications. The DAAD cross-checks them and discrepancies lead to disqualification. That is a very interesting thing to know. Same with the Japanese government scholarship. They actually have a placement form where you fill and rank the universities that you want to go to, and you have to justify which one you are, why you're ranking which one where, right? So all of those things count. So you have to think about it. You have to think about it when you do your application for the DAAD, okay? Now let's look here at strategy 2, the development golden thread. High grades get your file opened. Your narrative gets you selected. DAAD isn't just funding your education, they are funding your home country's development. So here you have your past experience. What specific socioeconomic or technological challenges have you witnessed for your 2+ years that you've been working? All right. And then now you have this course that you're going to go do in Germany. How does this specific degree provide the exact technical and policy tools you currently lack, right? Then go now to the future. Home country impact. How will you apply the tools upon your return to initiate tangible processes of change in your home country? So this is the thread that you have to follow for you to justify. While I was working, this is what I observed. If you all give me this scholarship and I go study, this is what I'm going to learn, and I'm going to come back, and this is how I am going to make a change in this particular thing that I've observed that is a problem in my home country, right? So let's look at hack 3, how you're going to win the scholarship. Surviving the fine print. Because university departments run the initial selection, local rules supersede general DAAD guidelines. Do not fail on a technicality. Checkpoint 1, language standard. DAAD does not set the English requirement. The specific university does. Interesting. Formatting rules. Your CV must be submitted in the official Europass format in reverse chronological order with 0 unexplained gaps. Interesting. Checkpoint 3, regional hurdles. Applicants from India and the People's Republic of China must submit an APS certificate with their application documents. This is actually very, very interesting. But at the same time, as someone that has been in the scholarship space for a while, I have seen this happen like a lot. For example, the MEC scholarship has like the central choosing body is Tokyo, right? But it starts at the local embassies. The local embassies get to decide who they are going to pick. They pick those people and then they inform Tokyo that these are the people that we are choosing. So it's the same thing here. You're applying to these universities. These universities are the people that you have to impress. And when they see that you are impressive enough, then they will take you for the scholarship, right? So let's look at the timeline. Work backward from success. Application windows vary depending on your path and your chosen university. You must build a custom schedule. So you have here June to July. Helmut Schmidt application window tightly opens and closes 1 month, right? And then August to December, EPOS course deadlines. So they have like, oh my goodness, each university has its own deadline. You can see how specific it is. And then late winter, don't mind the 2025-2026 written there, but just late winter. Interviews and final DAAD shortlisting. And then summer, you have preparatory German language courses. And then continuing September, October, official master's courses begin in Germany. So the idea here is that there is a timeline. There is a timeline that you have to follow. And based off of which of this you choose, let's say you choose the EPOS or you choose the Helmut Schmidt, there are specific ways that you can follow in order to, like, in terms of timeline, in terms of application. But what you can see here is that they want you to be solving a problem in your home country. I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to be doing more videos about the DAAD scholarship. I'm going to try to reach out to those that have gotten the scholarship such that I can match you all with those that have gotten the scholarship for one-on-one tutoring. I'm going to create worksheets around this particular scholarship because I think it is very, very fascinating. I think that this is like the flagship scholarship of the German government. And I think that when you come to these German scholarships that are fully funded, it is really a life-changing opportunity. So y'all subscribe to this channel, turn the notifications on, like this video, save this video, come back for updates on what I am going to be doing to help you get the DAAD scholarship. I am going to see you all in the next one. Peace.